On March 24, 2026, Epic Games officially executed a structural realignment, eliminating over 1,000 employees from its global workforce. Internal memos from CEO Tim Sweeney confirmed that the cuts represented roughly 20 to 23% of the company's total staff. For a developer and publisher historically recognized as the technical vanguard of the interactive media sector, an internal purge of this scale signaled a severe structural malfunction. The 2020 to 2022 period saw aggressive corporate expansion across the digital entertainment sector. Publishers capitalized on temporary pandemic-induced engagement surges, using low-interest capital to finance massive hiring sprees. By 2026, the cost of servicing those operations met a stagnating consumer market, triggering a violent market correction. The Epic Games layoffs are a single data point in a much broader contraction. Since the 2022 peak, the interactive entertainment industry has systematically eliminated over 45,000 global jobs. This table tracks comparative workforce reductions, proving the contraction impacted legacy leaders. Microsoft cut 9,000 jobs in July 2025, proceeding even as the company integrated its $70 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Sony Interactive executed cumulative cuts exceeding 1,500 employees, canceling projects and shuttering entire internal studios. Electronic Arts also executed cumulative cuts exceeding 1,500 staff, opting for leaner operations as part of the broader industry pivot. The industry has officially moved past the pursuit of the singular hit, adopting an operational model defined by leaner headcounts and tougher cost economics. Sweeney's public statements acknowledged a recurring internal deficit. Epic Games was simply spending more money than it generated. To understand how a company with multiple billion-dollar revenue streams reached a deficit, we have to isolate two specific macroeconomic pressures. This chart compares the required capital expenditures for modern AAA titles, the highest budget tier of commercial video games. The Last of Us Part 2 cost roughly $220 million to produce, while Cyberpunk 2077 required an estimated $436 million. Recouping a $200 million initial investment requires moving tens of millions of units at full retail price. If a game underperforms even slightly, the studio absorbs a massive loss. Compounding these massive production costs is a hard ceiling on consumer attention. By 2025, core live service titles, games continually updated to keep players engaged indefinitely, hit an engagement plateau. Even Fortnite, a remarkably resilient asset, saw declining daily active users. Video games no longer compete only with other video games. They compete directly for screen time against algorithmic short-form video platforms like TikTok, which provide high dopamine, passive entertainment with zero entry cost. Epic's extreme capital expenditures relied on continuous compounding revenue growth. When digital consumption patterns shifted toward passive mobile scrolling, that expected revenue flatlined, making their internal budget models mathematically impossible to sustain. Beyond macroeconomic headwinds, Epic assumed a unique, self-imposed strategic burden, an aggressive legal war against the two largest mobile distribution monopolies in the world. Epic deliberately violated the terms of service on Apple's iOS and Google's Android platforms to protest their 30% revenue extraction fees. The immediate operational consequence of this litigation was devastating. Apple and Google removed Fortnite from their storefronts, keeping the application entirely off billions of smartphones for several years. This chart shows the opportunity cost of that legal strategy. Epic locked out its flagship product from a $100 billion global mobile market, actively creating a massive growth vacuum for its own software. During Fortnite's multi-year absence from mobile app stores, agile competitors captured that displaced user base. Other live service titles entrenched themselves on smartphones, monopolizing the exact demographics Epic needed for continuous growth. Sweeney admitted to taking a lot of bullets for the broader developer ecosystem, but absorbing severe legal fees while intentionally choking off mobile revenue burned through critical capital, exactly when broader market conditions demanded maximum financial efficiency. Facing a severe structural deficit, Epic shifted focus from volatile consumer software to stable enterprise licensing. They needed to diversify their revenue to insulate their internal research and development. In March 2024, the company rolled out a major pricing update for Unreal Engine 5.4. Rather than relying purely on royalties from shipped video games, Epic Games introduced a software as a service, or SaaS, subscription model. This table shows the non-gaming subscription model. It establishes specific pricing tiers for commercial entities outside of the video game sector that use Unreal Engine for 3D rendering. A standard subscription costs $1,850 per seat per year. This tier specifically targets the architecture, engineering, and construction, or AEC, sectors. Traditional game developers retain the standard model, paying a 5% royalty to Epic only after their product exceeds $1 million in gross revenue. Epic is deliberately securing recurring business-to-business revenue from corporate clients. They are using these stable, high-margin enterprise contracts to subsidize the incredibly expensive, volatile process of developing their 3D creator tools. Beyond the balance sheets, continuous mass layoffs destroyed the relationship between rank-and-file developers and executive leadership. Game workers, frustrated by internal memos they viewed as dismissive, began organizing. As a direct response to aggressive hiring followed by massive cuts, the industry experienced a historic surge in organized labor throughout 2024 and 2025. This visualization shows the quantifiable victories of the 11-month SAG-AFTRA video game strike. SAG-AFTRA, the union representing media performers, secured an immediate 15.17% compensation increase and strict consent requirements regarding the use of AI to create digital replicas of actors. During this period, the United Video Game Workers, Communication Workers of America, or UVWCWA, launched specifically to protect contractors and independent developers, the most precarious segment of the software supply chain. This table illustrates the global growth and labor distribution between 2025 and 2026, mapping the direct geographic consequence of rising labor costs in the West. North America experienced severe consolidation, with over half of all industry layoffs localized in California. Simultaneously, venture capital, or private equity funding, surged into emerging market hubs like Turkey, Vietnam, and Brazil. The traditional, centralized studio model based in expensive Western cities is being actively replaced. Publishers are aggressively migrating their development pipelines to globally distributed teams in lower-cost regions to maintain profit margins. Epic Games identified $500 million in savings through its workforce reductions. Management directed that capital specifically towards one high-stakes survival strategy, the deployment of Unreal Engine 6. The core objective of Unreal Engine 6 is strict interoperability. Epic wants to provide a technology base that allows external developers to build an application once and instantly deploy it across multiple competing platforms. To test this architecture, Epic secured a $1.5 billion investment from Disney. This partnership is designed to establish a persistent, federated ecosystem where players can port their digital assets between Fortnite and dedicated Disney software environments. This network map shows how Epic plans to distribute logical assets, 3D models, and code designed to function regardless of the underlying game engine. Epic hosts these assets on a centralized digital storefront called the Fab Marketplace, which then disperses them to external environments like Roblox and Minecraft. By controlling the distribution hub for these logical assets, Epic can extract a percentage-based fee on transactions across the broader creator economy, even when players are not actively using software built by Epic Games. To keep creators building within its own ecosystem, Epic introduced an engagement score model. They offer an aggressive 74% revenue share to independent map makers who can reliably acquire new users for Fortnite. However, absorbing 74% of the revenue share is a heavy subsidy. If Fortnite's first-party consumer spending continues to stagnate, paying out those high margins to independent creators will actively accelerate Epic's internal deficit. The industry's largest players are increasingly prioritizing the management of these federals to connect.